Good afternoon to all of you who are on the East Coast, and good morning to those of you in the Central Time Zone and the West Coast. To the friends of the IDF, to our extended FIDF family, we want to wish each and every one of you an early happy Hanukkah. We want to thank you for your support, your increased support, and your continuing support for the war effort. Today, we are going to be addressed by two very special and unique people. We're going to be addressed by Lieutenant Colonel Michal Frankel, and we've heard from Lieutenant Colonel Frankel in the past. She's going to be giving us an update, a brief, and then at that point, following Michal Frankel, we're going to be hearing from Major General Nadav Padan. At this point in time, we want to hand it over to Michal. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you. I want to thank you for your support again and just give you the most updated operational update about what is going on. As we all know, Hamas violated the operational pause. Following this violation, we resumed our military operation across Gaza. Our central mission remains bring back all our hostages, dismantle Hamas, and restore security to Israel borders. While doing so, we are ensuring humanitarian aid continues to reach the people of Gaza. Our war, again, is not with the people of Gaza. Our war is with Hamas. And what happened in the last day is that, as I said, Hamas violated the pause. First rocket fired on Friday, the 1st of December at 5:42 a.m., which is a violation of the operational pause. Hamas rocket fire at southern and central of Israel continued yesterday. And moreover, Hamas did not deliver a list of hostages to be released as agreed. This is why the operational pause stopped. Our mission is to dismantle Hamas. Began before the pause, and now we are continuing. The IDF has struck more than 400 terror targets across the Gaza Strip, including in Khan Yunis, more than 50 in the area of Khan Yunis and Rafah. The targets include commanders, infrastructure, and tunnel shafts. The IDF has eliminated Hamas Sajaiya battalion commander Wissam Farad, who played a role in the brutal attack of the 7th of October. This, in fact, degraded the battalion capability significantly. I want to let you know that more than 800 tunnel shafts were located. 500 of them were destroyed since the start of the war. And I'm sure you all know that Hamas is hiding within civilian houses and properties. We have found more than 6,000 weapons hidden in Hamas infrastructure, which are embedded in mosques, hospitals, and schools since the beginning of this war. Again, Hamas is playing a vicious, cruel war against, trying to do it against Israel. He has abducted, of course, more than 200 Israelis and foreigners. And we prioritized getting first children and women back. Hamas has manipulated the deal. He's still holding children and women and men and Holocaust survivors. We all know of the Bibas family, a 10-month-old baby Kfir, his brother 4-year Ariel, and mother Shira. This is a psychological terror. We saw separation of families. We are hearing that from the hostages that were released, that they were held in brutal conditions. So this is the situation that we are seeing now. With the statistics, it's numbers, but of course it's more than that. We have 398 IDF fatalities, killed soldiers, commanders, more than 1,200 Israelis killed. And since the beginning of the war, the Hamas has fired more than 10,000 rockets into Israel. 1,000 of those were failed rockets, and they are still holding a threat against Israel. The numbers of released, we have had 81 Israelis released, 24 foreign nationalities, total of 105. At the age of 2 to 85, we still have 137 hostages in captivity, including 17 women and children, and we have a moral obligation to bring all of the hostages home. I want to remind you that we still have 250,000 Israeli civilians displaced within the country, within Israel. But I think this is something that we are very proud of, and you should know that we are doing the most efforts that we can do to make sure that the Gazans receive the humanitarian aid that they need. Our war has never been again with the people of Gaza. This humanitarian assistance for people of Gaza began before the framework of the operational pause, and is now and has increased. Hamas chose to continue attack Israel over receiving more aid for Gazan civilians. So this is what is going on. And now, regarding the evacuation of Gazans, the IDF has delivered a message to the residents in Gaza with a link to a map detailing exactly where they should evacuate in order for us to have the minimum amount of casualties within the Gaza population. And we're actually telling them, advising them to evacuate themselves to a safer area. During the operational pause, Hamas has prepared and used this time to prepare rockets and fired it on Friday morning and on Saturday to Israel. Now, regarding the north, we see continuing exchange of fire with Hezbollah terrorists on the border with Lebanon. We have had today 12 injured soldiers as a result of an attack against them. On Saturday, IDF struck Hezbollah targets in line with the IDF policy to respond to every attack. We will respond to every attack, no matter where it will be. And today we have had, as I said, rockets fired from Syria. So these are the most updated operational data I can give you today. If you have any questions or anything more you want to know, I'm here.
Lieutenant Colonel Frankel, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that briefing with us. At this time, we want to transfer over to Major General Nadav Padan. And Major General Nadav Padan on Wednesday, when he gave us a briefing, he described about the challenges in Jabalia. He described about what the goals and the challenges would be in terms of Khan Yunis, Rafiah, the areas south of the Gaza River. Major General Padan, in your update, in your briefing, we had a number of questions from the Friends of the IDF. What's happened over the last couple of days since the war has resumed, both in Jabalia as well as the areas in Khan Yunis and Rafiah? Thank you.
So when it comes to the north part of Gaza, there were two remaining battalions that the IDF didn't, finish to take over before the ceasefire period of time, the temporary ceasefire. It was the battalion of Sajaiya and the battalion of Jabalia. People consider them as the toughest, as the toughest, as the toughest battalion of Gaza Strip. I'm not so sure. Every battalion is tough enough, and both of them supposed to be as a center of the Islamic Jihad from the very existence of this movement. In Jabalia, the first Intifada started, by the way, to the one that don't remember, at the late 80s. Those are very tough neighborhood, and they are hosting terrorist movement from the very beginning of the existence of those terror organizations in Gaza Strip. Over the last 2 days, the IDF actually destroyed the battalion of Sajaiya and is maneuvering into the center of gravity, the the main command and headquarters of Jabalia area, and I believe that in a few days, the whole area of the north part of Gaza Strip will be under the control of the IDF by all means. Parallel to that, the IDF has been mentioned attacking at the center of Gaza Strip in the city of Khan Younis. In the city of Khan Younis, right now there is a huge group of terrorists that ran away from the Israeli maneuver into the north. And as far as we understand, the leadership of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad are hiding in this place. Over the last few days, the Hamas took advantage of the temporary ceasefires and got organized and create lines of defense to welcome the IDF maneuver into the center. So there is no secret. But as you can see at the beginning of this maneuver a few weeks ago, there were no event, no place at the north part of Gaza that the terrorists been able to block, stop, or prevent the IDF from maneuver wherever you want to maneuver. So it's going to be tough. It's going to take at least, to my assumption, 2 weeks to take the center, the city of Khan Younis and the town and the camp surrounding it. And if we extend the maneuver to the south, to the city of Rafah, probably another 2 weeks. I want to take one step backward and speak about the window, the time we have to finish this war, and the gap, or the gap that seems to be start to create between the U.S. opinion and Israel opinion and other opinion. So I must tell you one thing for certain: most of the moderate country wants Israel to destroy Hamas. That include Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the Persian Gulf country. Most of the moderate country want us to eliminate the idea of radical that can actually take over the country, kind of ISIS idea that the country at the Middle East already struggle through the period of time that got the name the Arab Spring. So although you can hear criticism here and criticism there, behind the radar, when the camera and the lens are not, attacking them, they can speak from the heart and the mind, and they actually want IDF to destroy Hamas. When it comes to the gap between Israel and the US, I've told it before and I'm telling it again, there is very deep understanding about where the war should go to. There is gap on the end state. This gap is kind of political gap. It's not a real gap. So if you speak to professionals at the CIA, at the Pentagon, and even at the White House, we all understand professionally what should be the next step of this war. But each leader have to speak to his own base. So it seems through the media that there is some kind of gap and misunderstanding between the US and Israel. It's not the reality on the ground. Now in Israel, Blinken just visited Israel and actually had a intimate, very deep professional meeting with the leadership of Israel, including the leadership of the IDF. The last thing I wanna say, you can keep sees the involvement and the way that the Iranian run the conflict in the Middle East. And from that perspective, the position of Blinken and the position of the US as a whole is significantly important. I mean, the event that we have in Syria last day, and the fact that the Houthis in Yemen are attacking ships, in that case, ship that Israel businessmen have some kind of part of his honoring of this boat. In the other situation, it's fully 100% British ship. And we saw what happened along the border with Lebanon. It's all run and coordinated by the Iranian. They're all kind of Shia proxies of Iran all over the Middle East, and everybody sees it. It's not a war against Israel. It's a war against the moderate country, against the involvement of the West in the Middle East, and we are the front of it. The last thing that we should keep in mind, and in regard to the time we have and the journey we have to march together, is that, as far as I understand it, after those 4 or 5 weeks that we have to have for the maneuver, we'll have to have very long time that will have to go from one neighborhood to another and clean the area of Gaza Strip from terrorists, like we did in Judea and Samaria after 2002. So it took in 2002 few weeks to take over the main cities, and then we cleaned the cities after almost 4 years. And during the time, we built with the local leadership kind of local independence. It's not a government, but I would say administration leadership. We spoke all the last few weeks about the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority is kind of a title that remind after a Oslo Accord. Even today and before the war, the Palestinian Authority wasn't exactly what we wished to have after Oslo Accord, and it's not exactly following the accord itself. But no matter what going to be the result, and no matter what international involvement we'll have in Gaza Strip, we'll have to have some local leadership that will cooperate with us to run the schools, to run the education effort, to run the basic administration effort inside the city. You have to have some kind of cooperation, some kind of local leadership, and we all understand it. So when Prime Minister Netanyahu said that he won't give it to the Palestinian Authority, it meant to the Palestinian Authority, the one that actually running right now Judea and Samaria. And when the U.S. say new Palestinian Authority, it means that we'll find new leader. And we all, in the way, the same page, speaks to our political base in different words, but more or less was saying the same. So don't be misled from those declarations. We are more or less at the same page with the U.S. We know what is our journey, and we know that we have to be very patient about it, because it's going to take a long time. And from that perspective, we'll have to be together. It's not a local war.
General
Yes.
Padan, one of the questions that people have been asking, and this is a sensitive topic, so if you're not comfortable speaking about it, we understand. The point that you just brought up, there's been over 80 attacks on American military assets, whether in Iraq, Syria, throughout the Persian Gulf and the Middle East. And the response at the American military, probably that response is being controlled on a political level. It's been very, very limited. What kind of a statement does that make to Iran and its proxies? And what kind of a statement does that make to America's friends and America's allies in the Persian Gulf and the Middle East, if the most powerful military on earth is not responding to Iran and its proxies the way that many feel it should? Now, again, that's the question. How you want to take it, how you want to discuss that, I leave that to you.
So I would put it like that. I mean, there is always kind of tactical response at the media, the local media that criticize the U.S. from the side of the Middle East that want to criticize the U.S. and want the U.S. to be out of the Middle East. And they want no influence of the West in this area. That's probably the perspective of the Iranian and their allies, the perspective of the proxies, the Shia radical groups, and even part of the Sunni radical group like ISIS. The moderate country that sees the U.S. as a bridge to modernity, to the vision, to the future of their country, try to build with the U.S. the future of the Middle East. So each part of the actors in the Middle East try to take every tactical event, every maneuver, every movement to his own. And generally speaking, um, when you are putting threat, when you're putting rifle on the table before you start to negotiating, you have to take in consideration that the situation could create kind of context that you'll have to use it. So the thing is, if I have any criticism, is that don't put or don't bring weapon to the game if you are not willing to use it. And it seems to some of the actors right now that nobody in the US got the will to use the weapon that brought to the Middle East. I mean, the Sixth Flag that exists with full power at the Mediterranean Sea, and submarine and the special forces that are spread all over. In as soon as better, the U.S. will have to kind of single that those tools are not just an Hollywood vision. They are really there to be used if it's needed. And it doesn't mean that the U.S. will have to open a war, but a signal from a superpower sometimes is enough. That's my only criticism, but I don't know everything, and I have to be moderate and honest enough to say that the U.S. have a lot of professionals at the Middle East, and I'm sure that lots of them dealing with the same kind of challenges and question right now. And I'm sure that sometimes in the near future, we'll see kind of a signal that don't mess with us. Wasn't just a declaration. We are here to stand with the declaration and make sure that what we declare going to happen.
The mention that Lieutenant Colonel shared with us, Michal Frankel, that 12 Israeli soldiers were injured by a strike from Hezbollah today. Hezbollah is playing a very, very dangerous game. There comes a certain point where they push and they push and they push, that Israel can't just respond, tit for tat, but that there has to be a much more significant response, potentially leading to a war in the north. Can you describe that tension, that friction, where Hezbollah is going with this? What are they looking to do? What are they not looking to do? Because that's a very dangerous situation when they wound 12 soldiers like they did today.
So I would say that after October 7, we have to be very conscious of the way we're assuming what's going to happen. There is few alternative and few options. One of the options is that they'll extend their attack to a way that will cross the threshold of war, and we'll have to respond differently. Right now, we could use each event that we had over the last few weeks as an initiator to extension operation. We didn't do it because Israel is trying to be focused on what happened at the south and just defending the north for the time. But I'm sure that we'll have to deal with it later. We cannot leave it like that. To the event that specifically to the event that we face today, you have to remember, and we have to remind ourselves that over the last few weeks, the IDF did pretty good job hunting those anti-tank missile teams, and he actually tackled and killed over 100 terrorists in Lebanon. From the perspective of Hezbollah, they are failing to launch those missiles group attack, and they take advantage of the temporary period of ceasefire, and they got very close to the border. Actually, they attacked today a base who is almost 4 kilometers deep into Israel, Beit Hillel. It's the road of the north that connect between the city of Kiryat Shmona and Mount Hermon. And unfortunately, he been able to hit one of the reservist car that parked there, and the soldier that was surrounding it got injured, very lightly injured, but it is significantly changed the depth of the attack of those anti-tank missiles. So far, the attack mostly along the border. And yes, they are trying to push it bit by bit, again, under the level of the threshold of war, but they're trying to extend and check the way to challenge us without preventing a different situation at the north. That's going to be part of the challenges for the next few weeks, because as long as we're fighting at the south with the Hamas, the Hezbollah obligation is to bother us at the north. That is part of the Israel of the operation from the radical axis that started in Iran point of view. As we mentioned before, those kind of war games are unpredictable. A missile that hit better than been expected by the terrorists, a miscalculation could actually turn everything over at the north, and we'll have to add the Lebanon and Hamas to our main goals of this war immediately. So it's a very fragile kind of game. We know from the past that, for example, the second war in Lebanon in 2006 never been planned. Hezbollah planned to do local terrorist attack along the border. It didn't plan to have a whole operation or a whole war against us. But it succeeded better than he expected. And the response were pretty hard by the Israeli side. That's going to happen today, tomorrow, an hour from now. And that's part of the dynamic and the challenge of the war. We never know what's going to be the next step of Hezbollah, but generally speaking, so far it seems that he's trying to do his best to calculate his move and keep everything under the threshold of war.
General Padan, do you have any last thoughts that you want to share with those listening and those participating in the briefing?
So I must say one thing to wrap it up. I mentioned it. It's a different kind of war. It's not a war on the border of Israel. It's war on the very existence of Israel as Jewish country in the Middle East, and therefore it's going to take time. And therefore we have to be patient. And therefore we have to do as much as we can to keep the spirit of Israel, the spirit of the IDF, the ability of our decision maker to have those very tough decisions. So everything that you're doing today, with supporting FIDF, with supporting Israel as a whole, with being part of the Jewish people, with being one, is significantly important for winning this war, because it's a war of all of us. It's a war of our future. And I want to take advantage again to say thank you to all of you for your support, for your care. It means a lot. Thank you.
Major General Padan, we know you're going to be going back to the troops in the south, and we just want to wish you, first of all, a meaningful Hanukkah. Please share our love to the troops, and you should be healthy, you should be successful, and we look forward to speaking with you later in the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Early happy Hanukkah.
To all those participating and to your families, we want to wish everyone a meaningful Hanukkah. To our Christian friends who are participating, we want to wish you a very meaningful holiday season. Thank you very much.